Today we'll be going through the 2004 American animated superhero film, The Incredibles. The opening scene begins with the film's main character, Bob Parr / Mr. Incredible, driving through the streets when he learns of a thief escaping. Bob then transforms into Mr. Incredible, transforms his car into a supercar, and chases the thief. On the way, an elderly lady stops him and asks him for his assistance in rescuing the cat from the treetop. To save the cat, Mr. Incredible unroots the entire tree. Fortunately, the thief arrives at the same location, so Mr. Incredible throws the same tree at the thief's car, causing it to stop. Mr. Incredible / Bob is thanked by the cops for his assistance. Mr. Incredible hears about another tour bus robbery and gets into his car to drive there. Inside the car, he encounters a young man who introduces himself as Incrediboy and expresses his desire to accompany him. Mr. Incredible discovers that the child is his fan and orders him to leave. As the child refuses to get out of the car, Mr. Incredible throws him out and drives away. Mr. Incredible reaches out to the thief, but the thief draws a gun on him. Elastigirl / Helen appears and punches the thief with her elastic hands, assisting Mr. Incredible. Mr. Incredible then handcuffs the thief and soon sees someone jump from a tall building to commit suicide. Seeing this, he hurriedly leaps towards the individual and saves them with a catch. Mr. Incredible becomes suspicious and keeps his ear close to the wall. The bomb detonates, causing a hole in the wall. Then he notices Bon Voyage robbing a bank. Meanwhile, the same kid, Incrediboy, arrives on the scene and expresses his desire to assist Mr. Incredible. Mr. Incredible tells the child to go home, but the child refuses. The child runs to call the police, but Bon Voyage implants a time bomb in him. Mr. Incredible then leaves Bon Voyage and follows the kid. He pulls out the bomb but drops it on the railway track, causing it to explode. A train arrives at the same time, but Mr. Incredible manages to stop it. He then hands the child over to the cops, instructing them to take the child home. Mr. Incredible departs because he's running late for his own wedding. He makes his way to the church and marries Elastigirl / Helen. The following day, the person who was saved by Mr. Incredible files a lawsuit claiming that Mr. Incredible ruined his death. A few days later, the passengers on the train filed a complaint against the superheroes in the Supreme Court. People are filing dozens of superhero lawsuits every day. The government implements the Superhero Relocation Program, which forces superheroes to abandon their identities and powers for the rest of their lives because of the huge government loss. Following this, the superheroes live a normal life. Bob is seen working at a health policy center 15 years later. He doesn't appear to be happy at work because his boss constantly yells at him, expressing his displeasure. Helen, on the other hand, is summoned to her son's school as a result of the complaint. Dash, Helen's son, is accused of hiding a sharp pen under his teacher's chair. The teacher also shows the CCTV footage as evidence, but Dash is too fast for the camera to catch. The principal apologizes for the inconvenience and dismisses them. On the way back, Helen gently instructs her son not to use his powers, but Dash is adamant. Helen then drives to her daughter's school to pick her up. Violet Parr, her daughter, is born with the ability to be invisible, whereas Dash Parr, her son, is born with the ability to run at the fastest speed possible. Bob returns home, and Helen complains about Dash's behavior at school during their dinner. However, Bob doesn't appear to be bothered by it. Dash and Violet begin to fight using their powers a few minutes later, but Helen controls them with her elastic hands. Just then, Lucius / Frozone, who has a power of ice, arrives to pick up Bob. Bob and Lucius hear that a building has caught fire while they sit in their car and talk. Both of them rush towards the building wearing thief masks to save the people. A lady in a car follows them. Bob and Lucius break into the building to save the people. Because they can't find a way out, Bob leaps from the building, breaking through the wall and landing on the jewelry store. As a result of the store's alarm going off, police arrive. The cop points the gun at them and orders them to surrender. Lucius uses his power to freeze the cop, and the two of them flee the other way. "This is the one he's looking for," says the lady following them on the phone. Bob then returns home, where his wife waits for him. She confronts him, claiming that it's illegal for them to use their powers and instructing him not to act like a superhero. However, Bob doesn't appear to be convinced. The next day, while Bob is at work, his boss calls to complain about his work. As soon as he enters his boss's office, the same lady who is following Bob enters the cabinet. While the boss is ranting, Bob notices a robber outside who is robbing an innocent person. Bob decides to leave to assist the person, but his boss warns him by saying that he'll be fired if he leaves. As he listens to this, he stays and says that the robber has escaped. The boss responds, "Good thing." After hearing this, Bob becomes enraged and throws his boss out of the office, breaking through the wall. Bob is eventually fired, but his manager saves him from the controversy and advises him not to repeat his mistakes. Bob then walks back into his house and into his workroom. He throws away all of the company papers, and at the same time, he discovers a tab containing a message from the same lady who is following him. The lady introduces herself as Mirage. She assigns him a superhero job and offers him 3 times his current salary. Mirage gives him 24 hours to respond, and Bob appears to be interested in it. The tab is automatically destroyed after a certain time. Bob conceals this information from his wife and lies to her, claiming that he is attending a conference for his office for a few days. Bob then calls Mirage and informs her that he wants to accept the job. The following day, Bob travels to Mirage in his superhero suit. Mirage explains that an uncontrollable robot is destroying the forest and assigns him to stop it. Bob then lands in the forest and begins looking for the robot. After a while, the robot appears and begins to attack him. Bob is unable to fight the robot at first, but after a few moments, he makes his way inside and seizes control, causing the robot to self-destruct. Bob then goes to dinner with Mirage, where he inquires about the main boss, but Mirage refuses to divulge any information. Following this, Bob cheerfully returns home and continues the work. When Bob notices that his superhero suit has ripped, he goes to the designer, Edna, to have it repaired. Edna, on the other hand, repairs the old suit and provides him a new one. Bob receives another call from Mirage, but this time his wife overhears the conversation and becomes skeptical. However, Bob lies to her and departs in the name of another conference. Bob disguises himself as Mr. Incredible, but he's soon attacked by the robot, which is controlled by the same child, Incrediboy. The youngster introduces himself as Syndrome and begins to attack Mr. Incredible. Helen discovers stitches on Bob's superhero suit while cleaning the room and goes to Edna for confirmation. Edna displays various suits for Elastigirl/Helen and her children, but Helen refuses, stating that they have retired from all superheroic acts. Edna then reveals the original location as well as Bob's true identity. Helen calls Bob's office and finds out that he was fired 2 months ago. As a result, Helen is irritated because Bob deceived her. Bob, on the other hand, manages to catch the car train and make it to the office. He then manages to get past all the guards and a lava gate on his way to the computer room. He guesses the computer password, and luckily the passwords match. Bob learns that Mirage and her boss are killing off all the superheroes one by one. He searches for Elastigirl quickly and is relieved to see the status unknown. He also gets to know about Syndrome's plan to destroy the city in a few hours with his massive rocket and robot. Elsewhere, Edna hands Ellen a remote for Bob's location. As soon as Helen presses the button, Bob's suit begins to beep and the security system alerts and apprehends Bob. Helen then decides to rescue Bob, but she forbids her children from accompanying her. Helen lends a private jet and takes off. Helen finds Dash and Violet inside the plane and demands angrily that they leave their younger brother, Jack-Jack, alone. Both kids respond that Jack-Jack is with the babysitter. Meanwhile, Syndrome tortures Bob and asks, "Who did you contact?" But Bob is unaware of it. Mirage turns on the radio and Bob quickly realizes that Helen is on her way. Syndrome then launches 2 rockets at Helen's jet to destroy it. Helen notices the rockets and instructs Violet to build a shield around the plane, but Violet is unable to do so. The rocket collides with the plane and all 3 of them crash into the sea. Despite the crash, Helen lands safely in the water with her children after using her elastic body as a parachute. Helen then devises a plan to get to their destination by transforming her elastic body into a boat, which Dash speeds up with his power. They all make it to the island where Bob is being held. Helen leaves her children in a cave, instructing them to use their abilities when necessary. Helen then fights her way to the office, evading the guards. On the other hand, the rocket is launched, and the fire from it travels to the cave where Dash and Violet are staying. However, Dash grabs his sister and rushes out of the cage using his strength. Elsewhere, Bob seizes Mirage and threatens Syndrome that he will kill her. However, Syndrome refuses to cooperate with Bob and simply walks away. Despite this, Bob releases Mirage as he cannot kill innocent people. Because of Syndrome's behavior, Mirage is left angry and she releases Bob while informing him that his family is still alive. Helen soon arrives, and Mirage informs her that Dash and Violet have been apprehended by the guards. When Bob and Helen hear this, they rush to save their children. On the other side, Dash and Violet are surrounded by guards. Violet recalls her mother's words and utilizes her ability to remain invisible. Dash, on the other hand, runs as fast as he can. At one point, a guard approaches Violet and points a gun at her, but Dash quickly arrives and throws the gun away. The other guy shoots at them, but Violet forms a shield and protects them. Soon after, Bob and Helen are joined by their children in the fight against the guards. Meanwhile, Syndrome arrives and uses his power to imprison all four of them. Syndrome then portrays the robot beginning to demolish the city. As he is doing so, Violet uses her powers to free herself as well as her family. After escaping, Mirage assists all four of them in their rocket flight to the city. When the robot is causing havoc, Syndrome appears and poses as the new hero of the city. Syndrome begins to defeat the robot, but the robot detects that Syndrome is an enemy and attacks him as well. A few moments later, Bob and his family land in a truck. Bob and Helen then tell their children to stay away from the robot. Just then, Frozone arrives to assist them and they fight the robot together. During the fight, Bob discovers the robot's remote control and passes it to Dash, but he drops it. Violet takes up the remote once more and presses the button, causing the robot to harm itself. After a combined effort, the superheroes finally defeat the robot. People applaud the superheroes once more. However, when they return home, they discover that Syndrome has kidnapped Jack-Jack. Syndrome flies up to his jet and captures Jack-Jack, but the little kid shows his strength and frees himself from Syndrome. At the same time, Bob throws Helen into the air, causing Helen to catch her son and safely come down. Bob then launches his car into the air, colliding with Syndrome's jet, resulting in Syndrome and his jet to blast in the sky. Violet then creates a shield and protects everyone as the jet drops. The movie ends as the premise for the second part is revealed. That was all from the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Until